The Diner by Cameron Cowan. Vince spread some shea butter lotion on his dark skin and replaced the lotion in his backpack. He looked down at his phone and tapped the screen, texting his wife in between bites of food right before his late night shift started. The diner was empty right now, but he knew the regulars would be streaming in soon. Vince put on his crisp white apron with its tough but soft feel fabric and the small cloth hat with black lines. The ring of the doorbell abruptly interrupted his musing and text messaging. He walked out of the short plastic-walled hallway that connected the main dining area and kitchen to the small staff and storage area in the back. Two men, just a couple of his nightly regulars, were already sitting down at the long formica counter, placing their hats on its austere surface. Vince put out silverware on thin bifold napkins. The day shift had not prepared the tables at all. It was the last night, and the day shift didn't care anymore. The floor and tables were covered in a kind of formica laminate from the 70s, the last time the diner had been remodeled. The yellow and brown counter matched the yellow and brown tables. The yellow part indicated where the plates and eating should take place, and a small square for condiments and a circle for the glass. The edges were covered in metal, and the old red original bar stools had been replaced with brown ones with short backs. Old pictures of the diner showed the old wood paneling that had disappeared in the 90s. The walls were now drywall, with pictures and posters of various bands, events, and things gone by. Vince put out two thin menus, although he was sure what they were going to order. "What'll it be, gentlemen?" The usual, "We don't change much." "Sounds great, coming right up." "Cookie, 2 eggs medium and sausage, 2 eggs scrambled well, chicken fried steak, sourdough toast, 2 pancakes, and hash browns all around." Yeah, I'm on it. Is Jose coming in tonight?" "Sounds like the usual mood," one of the men remarked. "Of course." Vince turned around towards the open pass-through to the kitchen. "And no, Cookie, no Jose tonight. He called in," Vince said with a laugh. "Is it true?" one of the men asked. "What?" "That this is it. That this is the last night." "Yeah, it's true, and that's why no Jose to wash dishes," Vince said simply. "What are you going to do?" "About the dishes? Wash them myself, I guess." "No, about a job." "I don't know." Vince walked over to the condiments bar and brought over a bottle of ketchup, sriracha, mustard, and Tabasco. "Don't you have another little one on the way?" "Yeah, Shantae's really happy about it." "But how are you going to support them?" "I'll have to find a new job. Maybe they'll build something new at the new interstate." "Maybe." The men took out their newspapers and started leafing through them. "Food's up," Cookie said as he rang the bell. Vince buttered the toast, and as he set the plates down, swapped out the jelly container. He turned around and grabbed the fullest syrup container. He pulled out the tray to fill the rest of them for later. The men put down their newspapers and started to eat and chatted in between bites. "I just can't believe that they're tearing this place down. It's an institution." "Yeah, it really does mean a lot to people," Vince said as he looked around the room. "Doesn't it mean a lot to you? You've worked here for several years. You were the busboy when you were in high school." "It does mean a lot to me, but I will admit, Shantae and I are thinking about moving." "Ah, yeah, a lot of kids move away these days." "Been happening for years," the old man's partner finally piped in amongst the conversation. "You eat too fast, Ed. You should enjoy the food. Ain't gonna be getting it again." "Oh, hush up, Robert. You always eat slow. If I ate as slow as you do, that's all we'd do. Eat." "Take your time, gentlemen. I'll get the check." Vince smiled. He wrote out the ticket and totted up the amount for the men. He thought about Shantae's growing belly at home and how hard it was going to be to get another job. Vince put the ticket on the counter between the two of them. "Ed, pay the bill." "Robert, I paid last time. It's your turn." "Okay, give me your card." "That's still me paying." Robert took a sigh and pulled out a wad of cash from his pocket and pulled out two $20 bills. He held it up and put it on the check. "Vince, this is for you." "Thank you, Mr. Robert." The men finished their coffee in near silence. Robert put down his coffee first, got up, put on his hat, and adjusted his medium-wash Levi's. Ed got up next, adjusted himself, and put his hat on. The two men joined hands, got 2 toothpicks, and left the diner hand in hand. The diner was quiet again. Food sizzled on the grill as Cookie made himself some food. Vince refilled all the condiments and syrups and put them out on the tables. It would save him time during the bar rush. He wiped down the long counter, and it really reflected the light, making the diner just a little bit brighter. Vince had just put the wash rag back into the bleach bucket when a man, no more than 40, in a flashy suit walked in and sat down at the bar. His phone was out, and he was texting furiously. "Good evening, sir." Vince put out his silverware and a menu. The man put up a hand in acknowledgement, but kept texting away. Vince went back to cleaning. "Girls are crazy, man," he said, finally looking up from his phone. "They can be, sir. How can I help you tonight? Coffee'd be great," he said as he turned over the menu looking for something to eat. Cookie was out back smoking. His body leaned against the brick. His shoe rested on the rusty flashing near the ground. He inhaled the light smoke and exhaled with regularity. He didn't have another job lined up. There weren't many jobs for felons. Food was a hard industry, but for him, it was the only industry with enough turnover to forgive rape of a minor, assault, and battery with a deadly weapon. He flicked the cigarette butt into the 6-spot parking lot. He opened the metal safety door and went down the short hallway past the required employment posters to the hand-washing sink. He scrubbed his hands. Would he try to rape a girl tonight? What would he have to lose? His life was coming to an end like the walls of the diner. Prison seemed like a welcome respite. He wondered if his girlfriend ever thought about the fact that the same penis that she wrapped her lips around every night was the same one that had raped that 12-year-old girl while her mother looked on in horror. This job was the only reason he hadn't reoffended, as his probation officer put it. But without the job, why shouldn't he? What was his incentive? What was society doing for him? He could imagine it now. His manhood stiffened. The shock and horror, the feeling of power and control. It wasn't the sex that mattered. The act was about his ability to do it, and he licked his lips at the thought. He could rob that little girl of something she didn't even know she valued until it was gone. 2 eggs over hard, 2 bacon, Vince shouted. His train of thought was broken as he made his way into the kitchen and put the grill on high and started the order. It was time to focus. "It's really a shame an old place like this had to be in the way of that new interstate," the lawyer said as he smiled. Vince smiled weakly. "It didn't have to be after all. You helped decide that." "Hey now, don't worry. There'll be tons of new jobs around the exits. You'll find something." "Yeah, so I can do this job for minimum wage at a corporate place." "Maybe you should get out of food?" "What else am I supposed to do?" "Oh, I don't know, man. Go back to school. Find something you like," the friendly lawyer encouraged. "Order up," Cookie announced with the bell ring. "I got kids, man. I don't know if school's gonna fit in any time. Here's your order. 2 eggs over well, toast, 2 orders of bacon and orange juice. Anything else, sir?" "No, thank you." "Let me know if you need anything else." The lawyer loosed his tie and started eating. A few minutes later, he cursed. He spilt egg on his tie. $400, fucking A. Vince brought him a glass of water. "You might be able to dab it out." He just took it off. "I'll just buy another one." He kept eating. After his last bite, he put a $50 bill on the counter and got up to leave. Vince asked him for change. "Keep it," he said. He put up a peace sign as he walked out the metal frame glass door and out into the night. Vince looked at him sit in his BMW coupe, shift into gear, and peel out of the driveway and into the night. Vince cleaned up and put the dishes in the dishwasher and sanitizer. Silence fell over the diner, and Vince leaned against the counter looking for his next customer. A woman, heavily pregnant, opens the door and comes into the diner and sits down at a chair at the table right by the door. Vince hurries out with a menu and a glass of water. "How are you doing tonight, ma'am?" "I'm doing well, and yourself?" "Good, thank you. Our special this evening is the flat iron steak with potatoes or eggs and vegetables or hash browns, depending on your desire for breakfast or dinner. Thank you. I'll just have chicken fried steak with potatoes and veggies, and some iced tea. Right away. Vince walked over behind the counter. Chicken fries, spuds, and greens. Vince poured the glass of iced tea and brought it to the table. Do you have equal? Sure, I guess those didn't get refilled. Vince found some equal packets and filled the little dispenser. The lady took out 3 and poured them into her tea. She took a few sips and seemed pleased. Vince stood behind the counter waiting for the order to be up. The lady began to hold her stomach. Sweat formed on her brow and she was fanning herself. Vince, concerned, walked around to check in on her. Is everything all right? Oh, yes, sir. Thank you for asking. I'm due any day, so it's just some cramping. My little one's just going crazy in there. Aha! Well, let me know if there's anything I can do. Vince returned to his place behind the counter. The lady got up and went to the bathroom. A few minutes later, she came back out with a worried look on her face. She got out her phone and started to make a few calls. She dialed several numbers, but no one responded. She held her stomach and breathed heavily. Order up! Vince turned around to her dinner sitting there under the heat lamp. Vince garnished it with some parsley and ran the food out. Ma'am, chicken fried steak, mashed potatoes, gravy, and greens. Thank you very much. She ate quietly by herself. She was about halfway through her meal when there was a steady drip, drip, drip under her table. She looked worried as her hand felt her body. Oh, God, she said as a cramp struck her. Excuse me? Vince hurried over. Thank you. I'm so sorry, but my water just broke all over your floor. Can you help me to the bathroom? I need to call 911. I think it's time. Of course. Vince held her hand as she gingerly stood up and made her way to the bathroom. She had her phone and started to dial 911 as another contraction rippled through her body. Vince led her to the bathroom and ran around back for some towels. He knocked on the door, towels in hand. Yes, come in. Here are some towels, ma'am, if you need them. When did they say they were going to be here? 20 minutes, according to the lady at the dispatch. That's a long time. The baby could be here by then. Let's hope you don't come that soon. Do you have any children? Yes, ma'am, a daughter. Will you stay with me? Of course, ma'am. Let's make you as comfortable as possible. Do you want a chair? Yes, that would be nice. Vince retrieved a chair from the dining room and took it to the bathroom. He covered it in a few towels and helped the woman onto it. Have you timed the contractions? I think I've had about 2 contractions 10 minutes apart now. Ah, then we have some time. Keep breathing. I'll get some water. Could you bring me my iced tea? Of course. Vince gathered a glass of water and the glass of iced tea and freshened it. Is she going to have her baby in there? Cookie asked as Vince rushed back to the bathroom. I don't know. I hope not. Vince returned with the water and tea. More contractions, she said exasperatingly. How long since you called 911? About 10 minutes. Where are they? I don't know, but if they don't hurry, the baby's going to come right here. I know. The woman removed her shoes and began to remove her pants, then started to leave. It's okay, you don't have to leave. You don't mind? No, you've been wonderful. The woman, naked from the waist down, sat back down on the chair. A few tense minutes passed. Vince stood by the door looking out for the paramedics. The woman was breathing heavily. Her stomach was visibly moving now. Vince held her hand. It looks like those contractions are just a few minutes apart, Vince remarked. Yes, that's right. She breathed heavily. A few more tense minutes passed. Vince moved over and held her hand. It's going to be okay. I was with my wife when she had our daughter, so I know a little bit about this kind of thing. That's good. Can you look? Sure. Vince bent down further and looked between her legs. She held them far apart. Nothing yet. That's good for them getting here. A knock at the door broke the spell in the bathroom. Paramedics! Come in, please, she said in between breaths. The paramedics rushed in. Vince switched to her left side. How far apart are the contractions? About 2 minutes now. Okay, let's get you onto the gurney. The paramedics helped the woman into the flat gurney. They wheeled the woman out. She was breathing heavily. They got her out to the ambulance and closed the doors. The ambulance didn't move for several minutes. The doors opened one last time. One of the paramedics jumped down and walked into the diner. The woman opened the door, but didn't come in. She wanted to tell me thank you for all your help. She just had a baby boy. She also wanted to see how much for dinner. Vince smiled. Tell her it was my pleasure, and it's on the house. Can I get you anything? Not right now. We have to take her to the hospital, but we may be back for something to eat. Right on. Vince smiled at the friendly paramedic and waved as she left. Vince spent the next few minutes cleaning up the bathroom. The white surfaces sparkled in no time. Vince looked around the bathroom with a feeling of satisfaction. By this time next week, all of this would be in a roll-off dumpster, but for now, he had the unique satisfaction of having it clean. Cookie opened the door. We got customers, man. Vince put up the wet floor sign and put the cleaning supplies away. Quickly washed his hands and started taking the first few orders of the bar rush. The big clock over the counter and in front of the kitchen read 2:15, and the people streamed in for food. Vince shouted out orders constantly, and Cookie managed the grill with precision as food was plated and ran out almost non-stop for 2 hours. By 4 a.m., the diner had emptied out with the last patrons, including the paramedics, filtering out. Vince wiped down the bar again. There was a large pile of dishes in the back to wash. He was not looking forward to having to deal with those. Thanks, Jose, Vince muttered, looking at the massive pile of dishes. Vince put the towel down and leaned against the condiments counter. There were 2 guys loitering outside of the diner, right near the no loitering sign. The shorter man looked professional, with the college shirt and short haircut. The taller man looked like someone who couldn't dress for his age. He wore a modern-looking t-shirt and what looked like shorts with longer hair and a short beard. Both men looked like they were 35, but the taller man could have been older. Are you going to do something about that? Cookie asked. In a minute. I'm not in the mood. The words had no sooner left his lips than the larger and taller of the 2 men reached out and punched the other fellow in the face. He was so stunned that he fell to the ground. Vince jumped over the counter and ran out onto the sidewalk. Get out of here. I'll call the fucking cops, Vince shouted authoritatively. The man on the ground got up. The tall man's chest heaved, fists clenched. It's okay. I deserved it. I bothered him first. Vince looked at the 2 men. The tall man held out his arms towards the smaller man, and they embraced each other. Vince stood there looking at them. Can I offer you gentlemen something to eat? The 3 men walked into the diner. They sat down. Vince put out some menus for them. This is a great place, the tall man remarked. Anything to drink? Vanilla Coke, the short man said. The same. 2 vanilla Cokes coming up. Vince filled the Coke bottle-style glasses and added 2 pumps of vanilla flavoring from the big pump-operated bottles and set them in front of the men. What can I get for you men? I'll have the double hamburger, add cheese, hold the pickles. I'll have the chicken club fries and ranch for my fries. Sounds good, guys. Cookie? Cookie. Vince went around to the back to see where his cook had gone. Vince opened the metal door that led to the back parking lot. The cold air from the outside struck his face. Cookie was standing out leaning against the brick wall again. A cigarette burned in his hands as he looked up at the starless sky. Vince let the silence set in. What are you thinking about? Kids. You shouldn't think like that. I'm about to be an unemployed sex offender. Prison looks pretty good right now. So they can beat the crap out of you, rape you, and maybe kill you? Better than being homeless. Not better. You found this job. You can find a new one. I don't know. I just don't know. Well, I know something. What's that? I need a double hamburger, add cheese, hold the pickle, and a chicken club with fries. Cookie laughed. Coming up. He flicked the cigarette into the parking lot, went to the hand-washing sink. The grill fired with food. The men chatted and patted shoulders. Vince looked on and smirked. He brought condiments just as the food arrived. Orders up! Vince garnished and prepared the plates and set them in front of the customers. Double hamburger, add bacon. Wait, no, add cheese, sorry. No pickle, and chicken club with fries and ranch. Thanks. Yeah, thanks. Refills? Please. Vince brought fresh drinks and watched the men eat. The men ate in silence. I'll let you both eat for free if you can answer one question. What's that? The shorter man asked. What was the fight about? The tall man laughed. We used to be friends several years ago. Yeah, and then his girlfriend decided to change friends. I never really knew who it was, but it turns out they got married, had a couple kids, and just divorced. We ran into each other tonight and got in an argument. You know the rest. Vince folded his arms over his chest and looked at the men. The shorter man had a nice black eye. The pleasant-faced tall man looked happy, but was waiting to see if their story had earned them a free meal. Vince shook his head a couple times. This is on us, guys. The men gave each other a high five. Vince went through the small hallway and into the back for some air. Several minutes later, he circled his way around the building and came back in the front door. The men were gone, and there was $40 left on the counter with a note on a napkin. Thanks for the offer. Vince pocketed the money. He took the dishes and looked at the clock. It read 5:57, 3 minutes until it was all over. Vince went over to the door and locked it and moved the sign to closed. He took off his hat and readied himself for all the dishes in the back that needed washing and sanitizing. They would look really good in a Chinese restaurant when the owner sold them. Cookie was already cleaning the kitchen. He could hear him scrape the grill and stack up pans. Vince was in the back, loading the glasses rack into the dishwasher yet again when he heard the front door unlock itself. Vince came out to see who was arriving. A short man of about 75, with neatly pressed slacks and a plaid shirt, relocked the door behind him. Morning, Tom. Morning, Vince. How was our last night? It was good. Eventful, but good. Cookie nodded at Tom as he took a stack of small pans to the wash. How can I help you? We're already cleaning up, but we might be able to come up with something to eat. No, Vince. I'm not here to eat anything. I'm just here to see you, actually. Final paycheck? You could say that. Tom handed Vince an envelope. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure working here. That's all I can say. You're welcome, Vince. Here, can you give this to Tim? Yeah, no problem. I'll go give it to him right now. Thanks, Vince. I appreciate it. Hopefully I'll see you around town. I hope so too, sir. Have a good night. Tom exited to the diner, and Vince relocked the door. The sun was just peeking over the horizon at 7:15 when Vince stepped outside from the tedium of washing dishes. He took the envelope out of the back pocket and tore it open. Pay to the order of Vincent Williams. Amount $100,000. Vince was amazed. This has got to be a mistake, he told himself. Just as Vince was about to call Tom, he found a note on the ground that had accompanied the check. Dear Vince, no, the check is not a mistake. It is my gift to you for years of service and will hopefully help you and your wife start a new life. God bless, Tom. A single tear rolled down Vince's cheek. Cookie poked his head out the door. There you are. How many more loads do you have? Just one or two, I think. Should be done pretty quick. Okay, thanks. Here, the boss left your final paycheck for you. Vince handed him the envelope. Thanks, I appreciate that. The clock read 8:45 by the time all the dishes had been stacked. The diner looked ready to serve a breakfast rush that would have been there any other day. Normally, the morning shift would have already been serving breakfast, chatting with regulars, and wiping tables. But today, the sun was shining in on an empty diner that wouldn't even be there in just a precious few days. Vince pulled off a chair and sat down at a table on the far side. He got a long look at the diner. It would be his last. Cookie came out into the dining room. Did you open your envelope? Yeah, why? The boss gave me $5,000. That's good. A nice bonus. It'll help you out. Yeah, did he give you anything? Yeah, he did. It'll help with the new baby. That's good. That's real good. Thanks for earlier. I needed that. I'm beat. I'm gonna head home and see my girl before she goes to work. Great, man. I'll see you around. Yeah, hopefully. Night. Night, man. A few minutes later, Vince put the chair back up and closed the metal door behind him as he started the walk home to his apartment. Maybe he would go back to school. Maybe he would do a lot of things.